Good morning, moms. So, just quickly, we are talking about Philippians 2:14, which says, "Do everything without grumbling and complaining." And we have the little tagline, "Don't be a grumble bumble, a happy yes is best." So, that's kind of our emphasis this month. And I've had some conversations with several parents this month, all kind of circling around sort of the same thing. Just my child in this, say, age 2 to 4 or 5 year old range, my child is saying no, or my child is absolutely not obeying. And it's like, okay, how do we handle this? So I wanted to just really quickly give you guys a couple of thoughts that I think would help. As I was walking this morning and praying, two phrases came to my mind, and I thought just that they're relevant and hopefully they'll be helpful. So set the standard and set the stage. So I want to unpack that just really quickly. I'm going to try to do this in like 3 minutes so that you can get on with your day. Psalms chapter 1 tells us some things. First of all, it says, "How blessed is the one who does not follow the advice of the wicked, or stand in the pathway of sinners, or sit in the assembly of scoffers. Instead," here's the standard, "he finds pleasure in obeying the Lord's commands. He meditates on his commands day and night." And then the outcome, he is like a tree planted by flowing streams. It yields its fruit at the proper time. And just little sidebar there, a tree when it's planted little doesn't yield fruit. It takes a long time. And so this, you are in it for the long game. You're not going to see always immediate fruit. You might see little glimmers, but you're parenting now in the slugging it hard, clearing the ground, pulling out the stones, pulling out the weeds, making the soil ready to plant seeds, then planting seeds, and then you're patiently waiting for the harvest. Galatians 6, "Don't grow weary in well-doing. In the end, you will reap a harvest if you do not give up." So it says he is like a tree flowing by streams, yields fruit at the proper time, and its leaves never fall off. He succeeds in everything he attempts. So that's an awesome passage that talks about setting the standard. It contrasts the standard. The standard is not what the world would offer, what sinners would offer. It's not bad advice. It is the Lord's commands. And of course, you guys know Psalm 119, "Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee." So that's the standard. So here's what I mean when I say set the standard. You're going to do teaching all the time at home. You're going to help establish with your kids that God's word is your foundation. And Psalm 119 is full of passages, or even just Psalm 1, that would help you to kind of clarify for your kids, this is a standard. God made the world. We live in his world, so we obey his commands. So here is one for do everything without grumbling and complaining. What's the standard? Here's the standard. It's simple. Ephesians tells us, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right." This is right. This is the standard. So in your home, obedience to your instructions is always the standard. Okay, so then this is a blanket. It's like an umbrella. It applies to everything. I need you to go get your jammies on. Obedience is a standard. We are going to go outside. I don't want to go outside. Obedience is the standard. We are going to have reading time now. I don't want to read. I want to watch TV. Obedience is a standard. You know, your children are not without opinion, and that's what you're experiencing in this age 2 to 5 range. They're discovering, oh, I have an opinion. Oh, I'm starting to develop vocabulary. I can state my opinion. And I actually even sometimes don't agree with my mom or my dad. And so that is a brain development thing. You want them to learn that their opinion is good. God made them, knit them together in your womb. They have an opinion. They have things, preferences, and that's okay. It's all right to have that. But the standard in your home will always be obedience. And that leads us to the second thing, set the stage. This is so important. If we don't set the stage for our children to have success, it can be really tricky for them. So they do have opinions, and you want to set the stage so that there's lots of opportunity for them to express their opinion and walk in freedom in their opinion. I think it's really important to remember what is Corinthians tells us in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 13. It's a verse that we apply to ourselves in terms of temptation, but listen to it. "No temptation has overtaken you except what's common to man, and God is faithful, and we mirror God, so we need to be faithful in this. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you are able to bear. What can your child bear in terms of temptation at age 2, age 3, age 4? But with the temptation will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. So you want to think about setting the stage. Let me give you just a quick example of that. I have a snack drawer in my house now. It's like you open, it is at ground level. So kids that come over to my house, they all know where it is, and it is literally at their level. Nora was at the house the other day, and she learned, she saw where that was, and it is, she can get the cabinet open and get right into it. It is at their level. And it is full of all the bad snacks. It's full of the fun stuff. And actually for me, it's great because I have to bend to get to it. But for kids, it's accessible to them. That is a terrible stage for kids if you're wanting to set them up to avoid temptation. If you have a kid with a sweet tooth or they love junk food, which most kids do, then that is a terrible spot. And you know, a lot of people will say like, have things accessible to your kids so that they can get it on their own. Don't have the junk food at their accessible at their height. Have the healthy things accessible at their height. Sure, have a drawer with plastic dishes so that they can get their own plate and cup out. That's great. But also have applesauce pouches and fruit and things like that at their height. When my boys were little, the junk snacks were not at that height. They were much, much higher. So that's that's just a simple way that we have to think through. How am I setting the stage? Am I placing temptation in front of my kid and then expecting them with a 2-year-old brain, a frontal lobe, where they think rationally, is not even connected yet? Or am I setting things up for them for success? So think about, look at your home at their level. Get down on your knees and look around. What is at their level? A lot of times things like remotes for TVs, and even sometimes TVs, computers, phones, a lot of times all those things are like they're on the coffee table. They're at low level. They're like low-lying fruit. And it's like we're sitting them in the garden and saying, don't eat from this tree. And then we're literally putting the tree within arm's reach. So think about that. Set the stage for success. And for avoiding temptation. So the other thing I wanted to say to you, when you set the standard, and the standard is obey God's word, and God's word says, children, obey your parents and the Lord, for this is right. Some people might say, but God did negotiate some, like he allowed Abraham to negotiate with him. Remember Abraham and the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, and Abraham's like, but if there's any righteous in there, would you spare the city? And God said, yeah, I will. But here's the thing that I don't want you to miss. God wasn't negotiating with Abraham on the standard. The standard remained the same, righteousness. And the city was destroyed because there was not righteousness. So when your child disobeys the standard, then you need to have an immediate consequence. Don't negotiate. I don't want to go outside. Well, let's think about maybe we can go outside. We'll play inside later and we'll go outside now. Don't have a conversation with your child. Let them know in advance. When everyone's in a good mood and we're not having a fit over anything, let them know in advance. When mommy tells you to do something, I need you to give me a happy yes. God's word says, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. So I need you to give me a happy yes. Because God's word also says, do everything without grumbling or complaining. So I don't want you to be a grumble bumble. And then role play and practice that. So do it and make it fun. Put out some mess in the living room. Okay, everybody, we're going to clean the living room. A happy yes is best. And then immediately you expect them to clean it up. And if they don't, you let them know in advance the consequence is a timeout in the blue chair. And I'll sit with you there. And we can get into that some more. But I wanted to just give you guys those 2 things that would be valuable for you to think in your mind. Set the standard, and set the stage. Think about that in terms of your parenting. And remember that we're putting off and we're putting on. So we're putting off the negative behavior, disobedience, but we're putting on obedience. We're putting on self-control. We're putting on the fruit of the Spirit with God's help and with mom and dad's help. So don't be afraid to also offer positive incentives and that will help to cultivate discipline. If I lose weight, I am rewarded by wearing smaller clothes. And that's a joy for me, right? So God sets up the universe that blessings crown the head of the obedient And curses follow disobedience, right? So we're not cursing and blessing our kids, but I do want you to understand that the world is set up that it goes well with us when we obey. And we are like a tree planted by streams of living water when we walk in truth. So it's okay to have positive rewards, which help neural pathways to come across their brain that start to say, when I choose God's word, when I choose God's standard, there's usually a good outcome. Okay. So we're not doing prosperity gospel. It's not something like that, but we're literally, it's okay to train your children that there's a hard outcome when I choose disobedience. And there is usually a good outcome when I choose obedience. So those are good things. Set the standard, set the stage. I'm praying for you guys, and you're doing an incredible job. Keep going. You're loved.